Hey everyone, thanks for joining me for this video. I really appreciate it. Having fun with this series, doing all the teams in the NHL, coming up with the things that I like about each team. Obviously, I don't like all teams in the NHL, all 31, soon to be 32. Pittsburgh Penguins are no exception. I'm honestly not a Pittsburgh Penguins fan, probably never will be. But as I go through this process and I do all the teams and I think about things that I can add to my list of things I like about each team, it's kind of a good process mentally because it kind of removes the negativity or that negative stigma that I have of certain teams and makes me realize that, oh, actually, I kind of like that about that team. So that's kind of what I'm doing in this series, and that's what I'm going to do in this video for the Pittsburgh Penguins. And yeah, let's get going. Here are the 5 things that I like about the Pittsburgh Penguins. Number 1, consistency. There are a handful of teams in the NHL who have been consistent over the past 15 years. And guess who's in that handful? The Pittsburgh Penguins. They've been incredibly consistent since the addition of Crosby. You got players like Malkin, Letang. Fleury obviously was a part of the team for a long, long time. Now they've got Murray and Jari as I'm filming this. But the team has been, regardless of who's in the lineup, over the past 15 years have been so incredibly consistent that I don't think a team has been more consistent. Maybe Washington. St. Louis has been fairly consistent as well, but Pittsburgh is always this team that's just in your face in the playoffs every single year. And quite frankly, I am getting a little sick of watching them, and they've kind of dropped down in the time watched over the past 5 years for me, but there's no question that they're the most consistent team. And even if I don't cheer for them, even if I'm not a fan of them, I have to appreciate the consistency and the incredible things that they do on a consistent basis. So that was an easy one for me. Number 2, Tom Barrasso. Do you remember Tom Barrasso? Tom Barrasso was awesome. Okay, he wasn't that awesome, but for me, he was awesome because when I was a kid, I really liked goalies. And I liked Tom Barrasso because he had those white pads. You remember those? Maybe you're not as old as I am, but I watched a lot of Tom Barrasso back in the day, and he had those white pads, and I was always jealous because he had like puck marks on it. They weren't white anymore. It's not like goalies today where they've got 37 different versions of pads and you never see any marks on them. Back in the day, they had one set of pads, and they basically used them for the entire year. So those white pads in game 1 of the season were basically black by game 82 at the end of the season. There were just marks all over them, and for whatever reason as a kid I thought that was really cool, and I always wanted to have pads like Tom Barrasso, white ones with like puck marks all over them. It's a weird thing to like about the Pittsburgh Penguins, but I have very fond memories of Tom Barrasso and the Pittsburgh Penguins, so yeah, that's gonna make my list. Number 3, Sidney Crosby. Now, you have a lot of players around the league that you could consider to be the best NHL player. Obviously, McDavid's going to be in contention. You got players like Panarin and McKinnon and all kinds of players who really could be in the running for best player in the NHL. And even though I haven't really cheered for Sidney Crosby over the past 15 years, in my opinion, he is the best, and he was and still is the best NHL player. I would say maybe not since he joined the league, but maybe a couple of years after until now. I really think that his game has grown tremendously. He can play at any area of the ice with anyone. That's the thing. It doesn't matter who you put Sidney Crosby with. You could put him with a defensive player or an offensive player. He just adapts, and they adapt with him. He just has that thing about him that just makes him easy to play with. And he's a good captain. He's a good leader. He used to be so hot-headed back in the day, and he got the nickname Crybaby Crosby and all this stuff. And admittedly, that's why I didn't like him when he first joined the league, because he was always crying to the refs and just going on. But he's really come around as a player and as a person, and he's much more calm now, and he's a much more stable player. And I really enjoy watching Sidney Crosby play, way more than I did back in the day. So yeah, this is an easy one for me. Sidney Crosby is going to be on my list. Number 4, Jaromir Jagr. Yeah, that's right, that mullet-wearing machine. How do you not like Jaromir Jagr? I mean, seriously, he was, if you could pick, like, the GOAT of the 90s, man, it's Jaromir Jagr. He's a legend. Just watching him play, and watching him play beyond Pittsburgh was pretty great up until just recently. It's amazing, really, but back in the day, when you think Jaromir Jagr, you think the Pittsburgh Penguins, and even though I wasn't a Penguins fan back in the day, I really liked Jaromir Jagr, and because of that, I kind of cheered for the Pittsburgh Penguins in certain situations. So yeah, Jagger's going to be on my list any day of the week. Number 5, the franchise comeback. We see a lot of comebacks in hockey. Not too often, but every time it does, we definitely hear about it. The Pittsburgh Penguins have a comeback story that you might not know about. This team actually basically, I don't want to say they were bankrupt, but they were on the line of bankruptcy. Like, it was so close, and not just once but twice, if I'm not mistaken. So the fact that this team was able to jump that hurdle twice and kind of move on past that and grow the organization to where it is now, which, I mean, if you think about it, it's probably one of the most successful franchises, and definitely the most merchandise successful franchises, with all the Crosby jerseys and all the Malkin jerseys that are sold and the playoff runs and stuff. It's an incredibly wealthy and prosperous franchise now. And obviously that happens with the likes of Crosby and Lemieux and certain players, but it's a team that has it has a comeback story, and I can really appreciate that. So not every team can say that. There's been teams that have moved and haven't kind of overcome that. So yeah, it's good to see that the Pittsburgh Penguins have done that. I really appreciate that about them. So if you could leave me down below in the comment section your 5 things you like about the Pittsburgh Penguins, that would be awesome. I'd love to hear your opinion on the team. What kind of things do you like? Let me know. So I hope you're having a good day, and I will catch you in the next video coming up in a few days. Adios.